What's going on YouTube? Mr. Ferguson here once again. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day today. Welcome back to hot and steamy Central North Carolina. As you see, I forgot to put my sprinkler up yesterday. It's still sitting in the lawn. I did do a little bit of watering, mainly in the front lawn. I did hit this side part and I hit some of this really quickly, just because we don't want it to die off, right? We've been beating this horse to death talking about heat and drought, so we're not going to go there today. But again, today it's going to be heat index at over 100 degrees easily. I was telling somebody in the comments, I think a lot of people do understand, especially if you live in North Carolina, you know what it's like to live in North Carolina. But again, you guys also understand we are on the very southern tip of where you would want to have fescue grass. Mainly north of North Carolina is where you want to have cool season grass. So having fescue in North Carolina, though we are in the transition zone, it's about the lowest areas. South Carolina, very tough. Georgia, very tough to have fescue. It's just a different environment here than up north. The elevation is lower. We've got this, it's like when you walk outside from an AC house, it's like a wall. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. It's like when the wind blows, it feels like a hair dryer. It is thick. No joke, honest to God, God is my witness. When I got off the plane, I got on a plane in Kuwait, and it was a drier air. The sun is hot as crap. It's over 100 degrees, but the air is, when the wind blows, it is the same thing. It's a hot air, but even in North Carolina, it is worse weather-wise to me than it was in Kuwait, because the air is so thick and saturated, and it just makes you sweat. And it's not so much sun hot, it's just the air is thick. And so I don't think a lot of people truly understand that has a big part to play with, you know, why it's so difficult to keep this grass, and we keep getting skipped over with the moisture as well. Anyways, I just wanted to mention that it's just a totally different type of weather than most people are used to in the northern states. But anyways, you're not here for that. So let's talk about the future. Let's go back to the future. Even though that video didn't do well about evaluating your lawn for seed, I want to lay out to you guys what my plan is going to be in detail, I guess is what I'm trying to say, what I'm going to be doing this fall. So number one, we are going to be working on the project lawn. It is if you missed that, we're going to be doing aeration out there. So at the project lawn, I've just kind of let that thing go for several weeks now, many weeks, months. It's just grown up. It has lack of water, so a lot of it's died off. It actually looks about like it does in my lawn, believe it or not. But we're going to be renting an aerator, a core aerator, and that's what I would recommend. I know a lot of people have the spike aerator. I've always done what Alan recommended. It seemed to work better. I've run the spike aerator, the ones that you fill up with water, drag behind a tractor or something. I've done that. I don't feel like that penetrated the ground as well. If that's all you can get your hands on, that's totally fine. That will break up the compaction, but really a core aerator is what you want if you can get a core aerator. And we're talking about the one that rolls and pull the plugs out. Here's a clip. I play this clip 1,000 times in my videos about aeration, but here's at Mr. Kevin's when he was on the one that's a riding one. That's mainly what we get when we share one. I don't plan on aerating my lawn here, but we will be aerating because it needs it badly at the church. We will be aerating that property, probably rent it for half a day. We're going to be aerating. After that, at the project lawn, it's going to be basically, that's the only difference of what I'll probably do at my lawn versus the church. I'm going to aerate there. Unless something changes, I'm not going to aerate here. So after that, what I'm going to be doing probably at my house that I won't do at the project lawn at that point is I have a dethatcher, an Earthwise or Earthway, I can't remember. I have a dethatcher in my shed. I've used this for the first 2-3 years that I overseeded, and I haven't used it in a while. Well, the reason why I didn't use it last year is because we did not have a summer like this. So depending on your summer, depends on whether I, quote, dethatch. Well, we know that thatch lays on the surface of the ground, right? Underneath the grass, you've got your grass, right? And underneath, there's a layer of thatch, of dead grass, of material that lays there. And it can prevent, you know, some of the stuff that we're laying down or spraying from getting into the soil. It can. Not likely, but it can. I'm going to cut my grass in probably the end of August. probably the time frame of around the end of August. I'm going to cut the grass, and I'm going to cut it down lower than normal. We're talking 2 inches, 2.5 inches. We're going to cut it way down. We're going to cut it down pretty short. The reason why you would want to do that, the reason why I do that, is so that our product that we're about to throw down in the lawn, our seed, our fertilizer, our liquids, anything that we're about to throw down, we want it to hit the ground. We don't want it to get caught up in the foliage or the top of the grass blades. So we want to cut our grass low. So prior to, and I'm probably going to do this, I learned last time. Actually, we talked about it here on the channel when I used that dethatcher. I did the dethatcher just a couple days before we aerated. And the reason why I'm probably going to do it a week and a half before is because when I ran that dethatcher, even though I didn't have a lawn that had been affected this much by heat and stress from the summer, it did a little damage to the lawn, meaning that you're running these little blades in a circular motion. If I have anything, I'll show you pictures here from the past if I have it, where you pull, quote, thatch up or the dead grass. We're going to have die-off in the summer. We're going to have some of this grass is not going to come back. Some of this grass is going to die. It's going to lay on the ground, and we want to pull that up. We want to rake it all up, basically, without a physical old-fashioned rake. We're going to use this dethatcher, run it all over the ground. It's going to somewhat injure the grass a little bit, but we're going to pull the dead to the top. We're going to basically cut it short. We're going to run our dethatcher, and we're going to get all the dead to the surface, and that's basically going to clear the way more or less for our material to ensure that it's going to hit the ground. We're going to get rid of the dead, and we're going to make way for the new seed. Man, that could preach all day long right there, right? So there's so many biblical references in lawn care when we're talking about getting rid of the dead stuff and getting it out of our life, and so that God can plant new seed and new growth and do new things in us, right? Woo, that can preach all day. Anyways, moving on. So that's what we're going to do. So project lawn, we're probably not going to dethatch. We've not had grass there enough. It's thin over there. It's not thick like it is here. So not running the dethatcher over at the project lawn. Again, we're doing the Jonathan Green heavy traffic mix up at the church. Again, we had a 4th of July event. They had cornhole games. They had the water slide in the dead grass, or the crappy grass we currently have. So I really want to make sure this year we get a good base fescue. We're not doing any crazy Kentucky bluegrass. We want a base of fescue laid down and do it properly and not do anything crazy to screw it up. We're going to go Jonathan Green and basic. So that's the project lawn. We'll talk more in detail about that as we go to help those that are on their first, second year of lawn care. Back to my lawn, just to recap. So we're going to cut it low, 2.5, 2.25 inches. We're going to run our dethatcher. That's going to be a video or two. We're going to rake up all the dead, put it in a bag, dump it in the woods. Then the lawn is going to need a little bit of time to recover. It's going to make it suffer a little bit. Now, hopefully it doesn't look like this. If it does, that's fine. We're going to do what we got to do, but it needs a little bit of time to recover. Then we're going to come back with our seed. And so we're going to overseed. I've already talked about GCI. I've got a whole bag full of the new blend of GCI Turf Type Tall Fescue. We're going to spread that in our Earthway spreader, which you see down there relaxing under the, well, actually you can, it's off camera, but we're going to throw that down. Then we're going to figure out which starter fert. If we're going to use starter fert, I don't know that I need any more phosphorus in this lawn. You do not have to use starter fert, but if you're just starting out, by all means, go get you a starter fert at Lowe's, Home Depot, Town & Country, Ace Hardware, whatever, doesn't matter. We just want a little bit of nitrogen. Just putting down a little bit of fertilizer to help out that seed as baby grass as it goes. It's already in the soil, or some people say they throw down their starter fert a day or two and water it in beforehand. It's already in the soil, so when the seed comes up and it's already there to feed, I don't know. Some people like to pre-germinate their seed and throw that down, and there's a whole thing about that. I've just never felt the need to do that, but some people will want to do that. So there's all those other different topics, but we're going to throw down starter fertilizer. We're going to throw down our GCI turf seed, and I am only going to do that unless we choose to thicken up some of the shade mix. I think I want to do all GCI Turf Type Tall Fescue seed, even in the back area, to see how the new blend does in the shade. Does it start to wear off? Does it do fine? We're gonna find out. So we'll do the GCI new blend everywhere, planting it really thick. We wanna thicken up our lawn through overseeding. Then I will probably do a spray application of Tenacity. I like to do that so when the new seed rises up, it kind of, the pre-emergent qualities of Tenacity or Miso prevents some of the weeds from coming up, and also mix in there some RGS. I just seem to think that the RGS, to me, seem to help with putting that down with the growth for root growth development, not only with the existing grass, with the new grass. Normally, typically where I'm at, I typically see baby grass coming up 4 to 5 days after I plant it if I'm watering every single day. You don't want to kill it with water, but you want to keep the seed moist. That's important. And then lastly, you know, there is a product called propiconazole that is a fungicide that is known to help with seed germination. Believe it or not, you can put down propiconazole if you want to ensure that this seed is going to germinate and help it. Believe it or not, do your own research if you want, but propiconazole is known to help seed germinate, so you can put that down at time of seeding. So make sure you're reading labels for all of this. So that's about all I'm doing. And then after that, depending on if we have really bad bare spots, I'm going to put down some peat moss in areas that may be really thin, because when you cut short, you're opening up, you're exposing. We know through NC State, our POA annua, we're gonna have to deal with that this year. We've already talked about using POA constrictor. When we cut the grass really low, sunlight penetrates our dirt, that promotes weed seed. That's why I think the Tenacity is important, or Miso. So if you buy starter fert and it has Miso or Tenacity in it, that's great to help when we're cutting our grass low, we're applying these things. It does help to prohibit some of the weeds from coming up with your grass seed. Remember, it only lasts for 21 days though, or excuse me, it might be 14 for Tenacity. I think it might be 21, I can't remember, but we have to reapply. But again, you have to check, is your baby grass going to be able to take that Tenacity? You can hurt the baby grass with Tenacity. I think you have to have 2 mows in before you could reapply Tenacity. So there's a lot of different things that you can do to screw up, and we have to make sure we get our game plan laid out before we get to the day and we know what the plan is. I got to do this, don't do this, set a timer, do this. I've got to set, I know I have to water regardless of what type of budget I got. I've got to water the seed. If I don't water the seed, I'm wasting my money throwing it out there if it don't germinate. So that's kind of my plan. I am going to do the, because of what we've seen, this has been a unique summer. We are definitely going to run that dethatcher, get the dead stuff up, get it out of here. We're not going to aerate. I don't feel that's the need. Next year, I think I will aerate because you want to do it probably every 3 years. But I don't think I'm dealing with anything with compaction issues. God bless you. We're looking ahead. We're not talking about heat and drought. We're just looking towards the future. We're getting our supplies, as we've talked about. We're picking out our seed. We're trying to narrow down what kind of fertilizer we want to have. We need to get that Tenacity. I think that is important, but you can buy it in your starter fert if you get the same products. You can check the links below of the things that I'm listed for seed and things of that nature. But what is your plans for the fall? I know a lot of you have already talked about which seed you're using. Are you trying anything new fertilizer wise? Is anybody trying out the Velocity PM right now? Let me know if you bought that, if you've been testing it. It seems weird to me that it works well in the heat, but you know, obviously POA annua and POA triv is a cool season weed. It kind of retreats in the heat, so that's kind of weird. So let me know your thoughts below, but that's our plan here for future videos. Future plan will be ramping up to gear up for that here in the next, man, it's not going to be that long. It's only going to be a couple weeks now. It's coming up fast. So God bless you. We'll see you on the next lawn care video.